Hi, this is Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles, and I'm here to show you how to make this little gingerbread guy. One of my first subscribers, Ginger, asked if I would do a gingerbread. She said he was her namesake, so I said I would do that. So it took me a little longer than I'd planned because I'd already had a lot of projects going. So I wanted to show you this. I used a very neutral brown, kind of a tannish brown, just to have a base that was nice and neutral, because they don't show through per se, but the sequins I used are kind of translucent. Now I'm going to show you the sequins I used on the first two, the one I'm going to that's done, and the one that I'm going to show you how to finish. They're the same sequin, and I realized that I couldn't send you somewhere to buy these. So I went to the same website and I found this one that's just slightly different. It's got a little less pinkish tone to it, but this one's available, and I'll give you all that information and then I'll list it in my description below. Well, probably in the comments. It's easier to put a lot of links in the comments, so I'll probably put them in the comments. You're going to need beading thread, and I commonly use these for a lot of my projects because I can get them in the colors. But if you want to use black and white, you can do that. And I do have the little spools, but I have always used these big spools, and this is one I've been using for 25 years. I recently replaced it because I couldn't find that one, and but I still got a lot of time left on this one. And I also bought one in black. And to buy these, you just look up, I got on Amazon and put in Nemo. Now this is an O, but what I got this time, wait, no, the black one is the right size, a D. Now my whites are not a D, and I probably will buy a new spool of white in the D because this is better for the ornaments. This is good for earrings because you got to go back through the little beads so many times. You want a really thin, and in that case you'd want like an OO or an O, because that'll go back through the beads more times. But for the ornaments, I use D because I don't want to do double thread. And it's nice and strong. You can see it's a very thick thread. And this is why I like using the big spools, because this is what the little spools do. And they knot up terribly when they get like this at the end. And it just is a pain. So I do use the small spools. Now I believe you can buy those in some colors, but I got these on Amazon. They were in a tube and there was like a bunch of colors, I think 12. And I bought 3 different tubes that gave me a whole bunch of colors. I don't have a link because I bought this like 2 years ago, but if you go on Amazon, they still sell them. And just put in, same thing, beading thread, I believe it's a D also. And it'll come up with all different choices that you can buy. And so felt and thread, and then the seed beads I used and the sequins I used. These are really old, but they still sell them in their new packaging. And this is from Cartwright's Sequins, and I will put a link below. 5mm, slightly cupped, but now they call them iridescent. This is when they first started out. They packaged them themselves. Now they're in more finished packaging. And this one's a dark brown iridescent. And as you see, the iridescent's nice because you can see through it. So whatever color you put behind it kind of peeks through. And I did that on some of my other ornaments that I've shared with you with like a light pink and stuff like that. Then the seed bead I used was a really beautiful topaz. It says inside color line gold. And it's just a beautiful, really beautiful bead. It's just real pretty. It kind of has a nice little glow to it. And these I got at Aura Crystals, and I looked them up just now. They still have them. They're $1.85 for 15 grams. And of course I've used quite a bit for these because I've used them on the front of 3 of these. And this is what's left. And then for the edging, these are from Art Beads. They're opaque lustered pearl crystal, and I buy them by big bags because I use these for a lot of things. But artbeads.com, opaque lustered pearl crystal. But any kind of pearl Toho bead 11O is what I would use. And then just a simple black 5mm for the eye. And then I use, these are from Hobby Lobby. I just bought them. They still have them. And I use these for the little cheeks. I don't know if you can see the little cheek. I did these. They're like little glittery circles. And I thought they'd be perfect. And they look really cute. And then I used this seed bead, which is a metallic. My bag says Toho round seed bead, galvanized pink lilac. Now these were $2.49. They're out of these, but they have the same thing in a permanent finish for $3.49, which had I seen the permanent finish, I would have bought, because these would be terrible for earrings. If you rubbed on them too much, that would start to come off. But for an ornament, they'll be fine, because you're not going to be touching it all the time. It's just for earrings, when you have the fringed earrings, you'll reach up and rub them to straighten them up and stuff, and that will come off over time. So if I had known, I would have paid the $1 more to get the permanent. They have 7 bags, they said, online left. But you can still put this one on your wish list. I don't know when they'll have them, but I bet you if you contacted Aura Crystals, they could let you know. So I got both this and this at Aura Crystals. And then the other one I got at Art Beads. Now these are where I buy all my seed beads. They're in Lima beads as well. I do buy some at Lima beads. I buy primarily Toho, which there's the name right there, Toho. I believe they're Japanese. They're very nice, and if you look at them, they're very similar in size. You don't get big variations like you can at some seed beads that you buy at maybe Walmart or even Hobby Lobby. Can sometimes be a little irregular. But the Toho are just beautiful. And they're a little bit cheaper than some of the other more expensive brands. So anyway, let's get started. First thing you're going to do is you're going to get your gingerbread. And you can use any shape of gingerbread. And then pick your beads and sequins. Now I wanted to show you this. I want to do a different version. As you know, I always love to do different versions, but you can't even see the little face. I did a mouth, I did 2 eyes. They don't even show up in this chocolate brown. This is also from Cartwright's, or coffee brown. Don't use dark brown. It does not show up unless you're going to do the mouth and the eyes in a different color. But I was very disappointed. I stopped at that point because there was really no reason to continue, because yeah, the white would have shown up, but the little face does not show up. So I will be taking this apart later. But I wanted to warn you, don't use dark brown. It might be disappointing unless you can come up with a different color for the eyes and mouth. So I wanted to tell you that. But pick a more neutral, some kind of a tan, and a light color sequin as well. And then what you're going to do is, I always do the little face first. So let me get the black, and I do the little eye. Well, I got to go through the thread. My goodness, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. You're going to take, hold on, I'm trying to get into frame here. You're going to pick up your sequin, and you're going to pick it up upside down. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got the cup facing down. And you're going to pick it up like that. I just kind of poked myself. And then you're going to pick up a seed bead as well. I need to move that into frame. Pick up a seed bead so you have a cup. When you put the seed bead on upside down, then it's right side up as you pull it onto the piece. And then you're going to go back through just the sequin. Do not go back through the seed bead, because that is what's going to hold it on. There. Now you'll do that on both sides. And then for the little cheek, I do the same exact thing, but I'll show you real quick. I do the same thing. I go up and I put on the pink. Is flat. So this is flat. If you use a flat sequin, as long as the 2 sides are the same, which these are, it doesn't matter which way you put it on. But if it's got a cup to it, you always put it cup down, because then it'll put it cup up when you put it on. And then you're going to go back through. Now I'm not going to secure that right now, because I like to do the mouth before I put on the cheeks. So let me show you how I do the mouth. I'm going to try to sit down to do this. I'm trying to keep in frame here, so I'll work very hard to do that. But it's hard to do this standing up. So I'm going to take the black thread, and I'm going to pick, usually the best way to do it, honestly, is to put both eyes on. Now I think I cut this. I wasn't thinking. Well, anyway, you want to put both eyes on first, and then you're going to pick a center between the two eyes, and you're going to, like right in the middle of the eyes, and you're going to come up, but I got to still tie a knot in this. Oh, it's still knotted. Okay, then I'll just go through. Okay, so I'll just leave a loose piece in back. Normally I would knot this, cut it, and restart it, but for the sake of time, we will do it this way. All right, and then I'm going to put the other eye on. You can put them close together, you can put them far apart. None of mine are the same. They're all a little different. But you put your little eyes on, and then I take and I figure out where I want the mouth to be, about middle of this eye to middle of that eye. And then I go down and I get, usually it's about 4 beads. And I try to get 4 that really look good together. And then I try to pick kind of the in-between spot, right between the eyes. And down a little bit further, so that's probably a little high. Right there. And then I pull, so it looks like a little bit of a V. And then I'm going to go up here, do the same thing, and put 4 beads on again. As close looking together as possible. And then I'm going to go through this one. It's a little tedious to get to those tiny beads sometimes, but it's not too bad. Okay, and then you can see it's starting to form. Then I'll go back through here, and then I like to pull it tight, and then I come up somewhere in the middle and kind of secure it. And I just go through wherever I'm at, right there. So I can go through halfway again. I go back down through the felt, and then back up, and then I go back through the mouth all the way again. This time I kind of try to go all the way through. So I'll go through as many as I can, and then find where I stopped. You got to be real careful to make sure where you stopped, and then go in the next bead, and then go through the last 3 there, and there's your little mouth. And then you just go back through. There. And then that's when I would take, I'll put it with the black thread today, but then I take the pink thread and come up kind of next to the mouth, probably a little bit further away than that. Let's try it a little again. Come up right about there and put the little cheek on. Like I always tell you, there's no right or wrong. You can put the cheek right under the eye. You can put it right between the mouth and the eye if you want to, which is kind of, oh, look what I just did. I just did what I told you not to do. I just went back through the bead. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter how many years you do this, you're going to do that once in a while. And hunched over a camera, it's really easy. Okay. And then you just pull the cheek on. There you go. And you do that on both sides, and you will have your little face. And if you don't like that little dip, you just go back in and out a couple of times till you get it the way you like it. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times going up through several different beads, and then you can get it to the level you want it. I'll go back through this side to show you the other side. And you can do it all in one color. You don't have to do it in pink thread. Honestly, I doubt anyone would even notice that it's black thread or brown thread or white thread or whatever you used. And that's the little face. I always do the face first. And then I fill in with I just start wherever, and I'm going to use the black, but I'd use brown. And I would just start filling in. Same thing, upside down. Well, that looks like a different colored bead. And just start filling in around the little face. And till you get it all filled in around the little face. I always start with the head. Then you're going to want to do these arms. And let me get the white thread to show you that. I think I have a piece of white thread. Yes, right here. Already threaded for you. And then basically you're going to take and you're going to figure out where you want to start it. You can do anywhere from down here to up here. If you noticed on mine, I tended to do right where the arm joins the body. And I just go in, and I always, not so much on this felt because it's a really thick felt, but on most felts I do try to go in and out, which I haven't done on this video, and that's mainly because I've been working with this thick felt for a couple days. But most felt is pretty porous. So it's never a bad idea to go back up and down a few times. Then I'm going to, again, upside down, and then grab a seed bead. And so that when I pick it up, it's upside down. So when I pull it down onto the little gingerbread man, it's right side up. Now, if you prefer the cup down, you can do that as well. But I've always enjoyed the cup up. Now, what you're going to do, if you see what I did here, then for the next one, you're going to go out a little bit, whichever direction you want. Kind of down and over to the side. And you're going to add another sequin and seed bead. Pull it down and attach it. And then you're going to try to go back over about where the other one was and down. And there's, again, no right and wrong. You can do really tight or really loose. And if you don't like the zigzag, you can just do straight. Because let's face it, if it was an iced gingerbread, it would be a straight line probably. But you can see what I'm doing there. Is I'm zigzagging it all the way down. It's real easy. And if you know what, if you make a mistake, just pull the needle off the thread and gently pull up on the bead. You can pull it right off and start over. Trust me, it doesn't matter how many years you do this, you're going to be starting things over. It's part of the craft. It really is. I make mistakes all the time. And that's really how you learn anyway. And you never know it all, no matter how long you've been doing it. So, you're going to mess up, especially when you're designing something yourself. You're going to mess up. And then there you go. And just do that on all four arms. Oh, now see that one? I don't really like that. So that one I probably would pull out and move slightly over to here. That's where it should be. So if I was making this guy for myself, I'd do that. Then once you get these done, however you want to do them, then I have already finished the head. Then I start moving down the body. And I like to go around in between these first. So I like to go around the body and go around all these little zigzags first. Then I fill in the body, and then I do the same thing on each extremity. I fill in around here first, then I fill in. Same on each leg and each arm. It seems to be easier to fill in here first than to work your way down and then try to figure it out. But just fix anything when you first do it, and then it'll look the way you want it to. Then when you get it all done, like this one, and you got to sew it together, that's the real easy part. That you'll really enjoy doing, because that's really easy. And I am planning on doing a video on how to do the edging on these things, because I think that deserves a video of its own. That way, for those of you that have watched quite a few of these videos, you won't have to watch it every time. I can direct people to that video. Now, I chose on the first one, I sewed it together with white. But I didn't like that. Oh, this isn't the white one, this is the white one. See, I didn't like seeing the stitches on the back. So for the second one, I used the brown, which really, you can't really see the stitches. And that way on the front, if you're a little away from the edge on one sequin here or there, also you don't see the stitches. But again, it doesn't matter if you see the stitches or not. So you're going to take, and you're going to make sure it's all lined up, that you've got the two pieces cut out right. And see, there's a little problem there. I'll fix. Make sure that they're all cut. Now see, make sure by your stamping, are they even lined up right? See, these aren't even lined up right because the ink should be on the back of each. So line them up, make sure they're lined up perfect. And then trim anything that's not perfect or that is really noticeable. That will, cause it to not line up good. And every one I've done since I hand cut them out, I usually have to trim a little bit here or there. But if it's just slightly off, you probably will never see it because it'll be hidden by the stitches. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go pick where you want to start. There's really no right or wrong place. and just go in from the back, and you're going to go through the front between the sequins, and you're going to pull it so the knot's in between, and that knot will be stuck in between the sandwich there of the two pieces of felt. Tuck in the piece of thread, then you're going to go to the back and go right back through the same spot. So that we have a loop going through the entire piece. Do you see how I did that? And don't worry about this ink. If it really bothers you, you can trim that off before you sew, but I don't let it bother me. It's the back of the ornament. They're handmade. And then you pick up 3 seed beads. Oh, this is not the right color. Let me get the white. You pick up 3 seed beads in whatever color you're going to edge your piece in. For the first stitch, you need 3. And you're going to do a loop right next to the first loop. And just be careful not to come up inside the sequin. You want to come up between. Because if you come up in between, or inside the sequin, when you come out, you'll have a thread going over the side of the sequin. So make sure you don't go up into a sequin. And you're going to make this little triangle. Well, once you have the triangle, you only need to do 2 per stitch. And you're going to do 2 every stitch after this. Pretty close to the first one. You'll get the hang of it. If it's a little too far, you can always pull it out if you don't like it. But I oftentimes have one stitch that's a little further out. But you just keep doing that all the way around. Now if you get into a tight corner here, or maybe in the neck, sometimes instead of putting 2, I'll put 1 there. And then go back to 2 on the next stitch. Sometimes I'll even do 2 with 1. Instead of the 2, I'll just do 1 and come back through it, the one I just put on. And that way you can get through these tight corners and it's not so compressed. See, in there where I put, can you see where I put single stitches in the neck there? Yeah, see, I did 2 single stitches. And then I put the 2 back on. And that way it really helps to it helps it a lot to keep it from being so crunched and ruffling up. And oh dear, my husband helped me because I accidentally finished this piece, but he put too many stitches on, so you'll have to bear with me while I catch up the stitches, because he didn't know I only needed 1 stitch left to do. But I can show you how to close it off. Now you are going to have the thread catch. It's going to be a pain. That's one thing about making these ornaments, is the thread catches in the sequins. Anybody that does this will tell you that. But it just can't be helped. And you get used to it though. Oh, I just pulled my thread off. There it is. I apologize. Let me rethread that. But they're a lot of fun to make, and I've been doing this kind of beadwork for, more than 30 years. I started making little angels as gifts. And my angels are all over the world. People have sent them to everywhere. My son took one whenever he went on a deployment in the Army. He always wanted an angel in his bag. And that's how I started. And then over the years I got into beading other objects instead of just angels. And I just love it. For a long time I made jewelry. And I enjoyed doing that, and wine charms. But this has always been my passion, and I'm glad to be back at it. Because there's just something really fun and relaxing about working with the pretty little seed beads and the felt. Oopsie now. See how I came up through there? If you catch yourself doing it, pull it right back out and then go up next to it. Because if you come up inside that sequin, when you pull it out, then you'll be going over the sequin. And you don't want that. You don't want to thread over the top of the sequin. Now see here, I'm getting into that tight area. So I probably should have started this somewhere else to show you how to finish it, but it really doesn't matter. You're either going to do 2 sequins or 1 sequin. I'm going to do 1 sequin for this little tight spot here. And you're just going to put one sequin, and then you're going to go up through that one sequin just like you did on the others. And then when you get down to where you have two side by side, it's sometimes hard to see where the first bit's the one that the thread. And then see the very first hole there, the very first bead? What you're going to do is add one bead, and you're going to hold that tight so you can see where you came. The very first bead you put on is right there. And you're going to come back through there like that. And that finishes it. And then I just take and knot it. I just knot it. Well, I don't really knot it per se. I go through it a few times like this. I go through one direction 2 or 3 times. I've never glued them, and I've never had one come unraveled because I go through it so many times. This is another reason why I like using the same color thread. It really does blend in. But if you're just starting out and all you have is white thread, it's really okay. I started with only white thread when I was first working with beads and sequins. That's all I had. My goodness, I only had like a few sequins back then to work with too. Then I might go back through the same direction I started with. Now, if it makes you nervous, you could take a little bit of fabric glue and put it on there, and you're fine. Now, to do the loop, it's very easy. The loop is probably the easiest thing you're going to do. You're going to take the same thread, you're going to knot it again, and I do a pretty good size knot. I don't like to take chances, so I make ridiculous sized knots. I'll show you my knot here in a minute. Now for this, you're going to want to, you don't want to cut the tail so tight that it could come undone, but you're going to want to cut it a little bit shorter. I usually leave a little bit more tail, but on this I'm just going to leave about that much right there. See, just a tiny little tail. Just tiny, tiny, tiny. I don't know if you can see that. Just a little. It's kind of reflecting the light. And then you're going to come in here and you're going to find about where you want to come up. And you're going to go under the sequins and come up through the seed bead. And it might take you a few tries. See, I'm right next to it. Come up through a seed bead at the top of the head, wherever you want the hook, the loop to be. And then the knot will be hidden. If it shows a little bit, you can always trim a little more off or push it under there. I'll probably trim a little more of that off. Then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put, oh, probably about 3 inches worth, or 6 inches, 3 to, let me see. The average loop is 6 inches of beads. That makes a 3-inch tall loop. So I'm not going to make you sit and watch the whole thing. I'm just going to show you kind of what I do. So after I get a bunch of beads on, you know, I'm just going to pile them on and they'll go flush up against there. When you're all done, you're going to do the opposite. You're going to find the one you want to go back through. So let's say this one's the perfect one, and you're just going to go back through like this, and then you're going to do that knot again where you're going to go around, around, around. You can knot it too if you want, and around, 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 and then round, around, round, and around, around, round. And like I said, if fabric glue makes you feel better, and then that'll make a loop that looks like this. And you can see how it comes up and out through the seed beads at the top. So that's my little gingerbread guy, and you could do him in any color of tan or light brown. Like I said, I just wouldn't recommend the dark. I was so disappointed in that. His little face just disappeared. The color is gorgeous, but his little face just completely disappeared. And I will put a link in the comments to Aura crystals, Cartwrights, and art beads. I will put their links for you in the comments. That'll be easier to do. Now see, mine's not perfect. I don't have it hanging. I messed this one up. It should have been, this side should have been slightly over there. But you know what? It's fine. When he's on the tree, no one will notice. So I'll make sure on these two, when I finish them, I do it right. But I even redid it once and it still did it to the side. But that's the thing, it's handmade. And handmade things are rarely perfect because they are handmade. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank Ginger again for the suggestion, because I had him on my list somewhere, but he was way down the list. I probably wouldn't have done him right now, if this year at all, because I have so many ideas. But I'm definitely open to any ideas that anyone has, if somebody has a suggestion. And if I can possibly do it, I will certainly try. But I've got a really cool one for the next video that I'm hoping to film tonight and upload tomorrow. And that one I'm really proud of. I really was excited how that one came out. And that was one I was working on before I started on this. It's been taking me some time, because like you see, I do a bunch of pieces for each video. And that one, when you see it, you'll understand why it took me so long. It's a lot more detailed. So I thank you again. I always appreciate you watching. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And like I said, I'll have links to all the products I use, the names of the products, where I bought them, and how much they were, and the links in the comments. I'll probably do one comment per item, and that way you can easily see them. And if you have any other questions, as far as the threads go, I buy all my thread on Amazon, every bit of it. The big spools and the little spools I buy on Amazon. I am going to tell you this, though. My old spool, you can see how nice it looks. These new spools tend to kind of get loose really fast. So I would suggest, if you buy one of these, put it in a baggie. Because I keep these in like a quart-size baggie, just to keep them from unraveling too bad. Because I have another one like this in a real thin for the earrings, and it totally went poof when I opened it up. It was bad. This one's actually pretty good. The other one's much thinner. It's like this one. See how thin that is? Well, it's still pretty thick, but I think it's even thinner than that one. And it just poofed. So if you do buy these big ones, I would recommend putting them in a bag. It keeps them from getting dusty up here. Keeps them nice. That's why this, other than some aging, yellow aging, it stayed really nice, because I've always kept it in a bag. And look at that. That's 25 years. I still have that much left. So they will last you a very long time. But I thank you again, and I will be back hopefully tomorrow with a really cool ornament I think you'll really, really enjoy, and one I'm quite proud of. And a little more difficult, a little bit more steps to it, but I think you'll like it. And I will talk to you then, and you have a wonderful weekend. Bye.